71% of Americans are overweight.
And this is the biggest culprit.
I began to collapse.
Pain was just unbearable.
Turns on this headache mechanism and makes you hurt.
Migraines, throat swelling, diarrhea, vomiting, irregular heartbeat.
When we do that, we see dramatic damage.
People are being hospitalized at record numbers, and that has doctors concerned.
But the after effects are still being felt. Hospitalizations for eating disorders grew during the pandemic.
It's a killer that's worse than alcohol, worse than nicotine, worse than drugs. It's called monosodium glutamate. And most people don't know that MSG is in thousands of processed food, often under hidden name, probably in your kitchen cabinets.
That doesn't feel good. There's a little bit of shame, a little bit of guilt for something that is not harmful, that is just stigmatized negatively in the media.
MSG is just a flavoring, a seasoning, like salt, pepper that you add to food. It's not bad for you.
The evidence is complete. Data in multiple studies conducted multiple different ways with human subjects has never found any evidence for toxicity of MSG. And people get sucked into believing, because I ate this and this happened, it was what I ate. And that's frequently not the case.
I openly admit that I use it in my food, and I have no problems with it.
They said it would give you headaches. They said it could kill your brain cells. And worst of all, they said it could give you cancer.
There is no particular reason to fear or avoid MSG any more than you should fear or avoid the other ubiquitous food additives in our lives.
But what if none of that was ever true? What if one of the most feared ingredients in your food, MSG, was never the villain? What if the real story behind MSG was a mix of misinformation, racism, and a billion-dollar fear campaign?
Nothing against medical doctors. It's just that when you're in a club and they keep telling you the same thing in the club, and this is the only way it is, and you never see any other viewpoint, you just start believing.
Because here's the kicker. MSG isn't just in your takeaway. It's found naturally in tomatoes, anchovies, cheese, and even mushrooms. This is the truth they never wanted you to taste. In the late 1960s, an anonymous letter was sent to a medical journal claiming that eating Chinese food caused the writer heart palpitations, numbness, and headaches.
In the late 1960s, a US doctor ate Chinese food at a restaurant. He experienced palpitation, weakness, and numbness in his neck, and he blamed MSG for it. He also wrote an article about it in a medical journal. He made a correlation and wrote about it, and he called it the Chinese restaurant syndrome.
Sounds alarming, right? Well, the media jumped all over it. Overnight, MSG, a common flavor enhancer found in millions of kitchens, was suddenly the villain behind what was dubbed Chinese restaurant syndrome. This letter sparked an outcry, and suddenly MSG became the bad guy, with everyone pointing fingers at Chinese restaurants. The problem? That letter was completely anonymous, with zero proof and no scientific evidence backing it up. But still, the panic spread like wildfire. And MSG, a natural compound found in many of our foods, was condemned for decades.
MSG has come a long way from your local Chinese restaurant, and today, its use in food is at an all-time high. It's in canned soups, dry soups, bouillon. It's in most salad dressings and canned meats. It's even in diet foods, frozen dinners, and pizzas, and almost every kind of snack. Restaurants, airlines, and even hospitals routinely use it. Food companies that use it say it's safe, and for most people it is. But millions are suffering a host of symptoms, and some get violently sick.
Why did MSG get such a bad reputation, when it was only one anonymous letter that started the whole frenzy? How did unverified claims spark decades of fear about a naturally occurring compound in our food? And what if everything we've been told about MSG is completely wrong? MSG stands for monosodium glutamate, a flavor enhancer that adds depth to food. But here's the kicker. It's not some foreign substance we invented. It already exists in nature. It's found in Parmesan cheese, ripe tomatoes, anchovies, and kombu seaweed, foods we've been eating and enjoying for centuries. So why all the panic about it? Could it be we've been misled this whole time? And here's the wildest part. The letter that sparked this entire panic? It wasn't even signed. There was no science, no proof, just one person's experience. And yet it created decades of fear around a perfectly safe, naturally occurring substance. MSG was made into a monster with no evidence. And now, we've all been living in its shadow. Imagine a world where millions of people avoided an ingredient that's literally found in tomatoes just because of a rumor. That's exactly what happened with MSG. For over 40 years, researchers tested MSG again and again. And guess what they found? Nothing. Not a single study showed anything dangerous. In fact, MSG was shown to be just as safe as many of the foods we eat every day. So why did we believe the fear? MSG was demonized based on one anonymous letter and no scientific proof. And for decades, it kept the entire world in a panic, all over an ingredient that's in our everyday foods.
MSG, the monosodium glutamate, perhaps the most vilified of all chemical additives. Well, actually, it turns out that glutamic acid can be found naturally. People are worried about MSG, and there are organizations that tell us to stay away from all foods that contain MSG because of its horrific consequences. The fact is that any food or any food ingredient can cause some reaction in a small subset of the population. So there really is no reason to be concerned about monosodium glutamate.
So, why has MSG been singled out for so long? Why do we still fear an ingredient that's been tested and found to be safe time and time again? What's the real reason behind all the fear? And why does it keep growing? Over 200 scientific studies have confirmed that MSG is safe to consume in normal amounts. Agencies like the FDA, WHO, and the European Food Safety Authority all agree. There is no evidence linking MSG to cancer, brain damage, or any other health issues. It's not a dangerous chemical. It's a safe flavor enhancer used in everyday food for decades. So why do we still think MSG is bad for us? Because fear spreads faster than facts. And when fear can make money, the truth is buried deep in your pantry. MSG is safe, but the myths around it have been feeding fear, keeping us in the dark for far too long. Once MSG was demonized, the big food companies saw a golden opportunity. Now, with no MSG, became the ultimate marketing weapon. Suddenly, every snack, every processed food was proudly labeled as MSG-free. But what they didn't tell you was that they were quietly replacing MSG with other additives that are just as harmful, if not worse. But there's something darker at play here, something uglier. The fear around MSG wasn't just about health, it was about foreign food. It was about painting Asian cuisine as suspicious, dangerous, and foreign, playing into deep-rooted biases. Suddenly, it wasn't just about MSG. It was about feeding a narrative that made Asian food seem like the enemy.
MSG is made up of sea salt and a component of protein called glutamate. MSG is used to enhance food's flavor. Experts say it may actually help cut the sodium you eat because it's just 12% sodium and salt is 39% sodium. And if you see MSG on a label of your favorite soup or sauce, you may not need to be concerned.
Why did MSG, a simple flavor enhancer, become the face of fear in the food industry? Was it really about the health risks, or was it about something much deeper? What if the real issue was cultural fear, hiding behind a chemical name? MSG became the perfect scapegoat, a word that sounded chemically dangerous and was tied directly to Chinese food, even though the same glutamate is found naturally in spaghetti sauce, anchovies, and even steak. It wasn't about the chemical, it was about the narrative around it. And that narrative helped create a divide, pushing people away from Asian food under the guise of health concerns. So here's the irony. You tossed out your soy sauce because of MSG, thinking you were avoiding the danger. But then you grabbed a bag of chips with E621 on the label. Same thing, different name. You didn't escape MSG. You just got out-marketed into believing the same substance was somehow better without the MSG label. You didn't make a healthier choice, you just bought into the fear. We all love having a bad guy to blame, right? It's easier that way. So when someone says, "I ate noodles and got a headache," we point the finger at the easiest target, MSG. But here's the catch. Those same noodles likely had natural glutamate from ingredients like mushrooms or tomatoes. Yet, we ignore that. Why? Because we crave something simple to blame, even when the truth is much more complex. It's human nature to want a clear enemy. But when we're faced with something that's not as straightforward, we jump to conclusions. And MSG, the easiest villain, was just what we wanted. What if the reason we've believed the MSG myth isn't because of science, but because of psychological programming? What if the real reason we're afraid of MSG is because we've heard it so many times that we no longer question it? This phenomenon is called confirmation bias. It's when we believe something is true simply because we've heard it enough. It doesn't matter that glutamate is naturally found in breast milk or that MSG is present in fish sauce and cured meats. We've been trained to react to the label, not the truth. It's not about science, it's about what we've been told. And here's the real kicker. In blind taste tests, people say food with MSG tastes richer, deeper, and more delicious. But as soon as they're told MSG is in it, suddenly they feel sick. That's not science, that's pure psychological programming. We've been conditioned to believe MSG is bad, even when our taste buds tell us otherwise. Here's the truth. MSG is not a poison. It's not some mysterious drug or hidden cancer risk. It's umami, the taste of depth, richness, and satisfaction. A flavor so natural, it's found in things like cheese, anchovies, miso, tomatoes, and yes, even your grandma's Sunday roast. So what's the real poison? The lie. The lie that convinced us to fear a naturally occurring ingredient, all because of racism, corporate greed, and lazy science reporting. Why did we allow ourselves to fear something so natural? How did MSG, an ingredient that's been in our food for centuries, become a villain? The truth is, it was never about health. It was always about misinformation and a narrative built on fear. And the real question is, what else are we being misled about? So the next time someone tells you MSG is bad for you, ask them, have you ever eaten a tomato? And when they give you that blank stare, send them this video. It's time to stop fearing flavor and start questioning the label, because the real danger is the fear that's been sold to us.